Hi, you guys. It has been a while. I'm excited to just come back and try to meet with you on a more regular basis. And really just the intention behind that is to bring to front some of the really questioned policies, some of the questioned health routines, some of the things that a lot of us are wondering, why should we do that? Why should we eat healthier? Why should we detox? Why are essential oils important? Do they work? Even just more relationship stuff, some of the things that are at the forefront of people's minds. The goal in my life is to help people be empowered to live the most vibrant, healthy life possible. And then in doing that, we have to look at all angles of health, right? We need to look at our physical health, our emotional health, our relationship health, even talking about marriage and some of the importances of thriving in a relationship with your spouse, parenting, all of these things. Now, I want to explain to you, I'm not an expert by any means. In fact, this is just something that I've learned over the course of, almost 14 years of marriage and having 2 kids, and really just learning how to live the healthiest life possible. So today's topic is an interesting one, and it's one that's really been on my heart. My kids are not in the public school system for many reasons, but one of the things that I've started to recognize as I've talked to other parents is this huge rise in diagnosis for ADD and ADHD. And my husband and I were actually having a conversation about this yesterday. And we were just talking about how our son, he's 6, and he's a healthy, happy little boy. In fact, he fought cancer in his little life. He went through 3.5 years of treatment for leukemia. He thrived through his treatment and is now in remission and doing really well. And he's a 6-year-old active boy, plays soccer, he loves to ride motorcycles, he's just healthy and happy. Now, I'm going to walk you through what I would imagine would happen if I put him in a classroom setting at a desk for, say, 6 hours a day. He would lose his God-loving mind. You guys, he's a 6-year-old little boy, okay? He has so much energy, and I will tell you, he's actually very well behaved. He has his moments for sure, but he's a child that can sit at his desk in his little room and play Legos for 3 hours. He is totally content doing that. So he can sit still, I assure you that. He knows how to focus, but he's 6. And if you put him in a classroom at a desk for, say, 6 hours at a time, he would go crazy. Absolutely. But isn't that normal, right? That's normal. So I'm going to read something to you guys. The label of ADHD is assigned if the child exhibits such symptoms as not listening when spoken to, is forgetful, fails to finish homework or tasks assigned, fidgets, talks excessively, and can't sit still. So I'm really surprised that that's actually a label for ADHD and not just child. Definition is hard to listen or has a hard time listening when spoken to, is forgetful, fails to finish homework and other tasks assigned, fidgets, talks excessively, etc. I mean, raise your hand or shoot a like if that's your child, or if your child has ever done any of those things, and if they do them on a regular basis. I can't tell you how many times I tell my children, go brush your teeth, go brush your teeth. 5 minutes later, they still haven't brushed their teeth. Go brush your teeth, and they don't listen. They're kids. Now, of course, you guys, I want to back up for a minute. ADHD and ADD, it is a real thing, right? There are some kids that truly do struggle with that. So I don't mean to undermine that. And knowing that there are children that definitely suffer from attention deficit disorder and they have hyperactivity disorder. But I just want to bring to attention the fact that these kids are kids and they have incredible amounts of energy. And to put them at a desk for a long period of time, guys, it's not really an ideal situation for little boys, especially, well, for all children, especially little boys. And if you look at statistics, 12% of school-age children and as many as 20% of teenage boys have an official label of suffering with ADD, ADHD. And of course, it's more prevalent in boys. Why? Boys have more energy. They have more testosterone going through their body, right? They have a much harder time sitting still. So when we look at all of this, I want you guys to just, again, as parents, and I'm speaking to myself as well, just question when somebody comes to you And let's say it's a teacher, and I want to encourage you to, that our teachers, they need so much grace, right? Our teachers are basically raising our kids half of the day. For some kids, a lot of the day. And so we need to love on our teachers. We need to pray for our teachers. We need to give grace when grace is needed. We need to offer help for our teachers. But I also want you to be empowered as a parent. And if your teacher comes to you and suggests that your child gets on medication, number one, teachers aren't allowed to diagnose. Okay, remember that. They're not allowed to diagnose. Now, they can make suggestions, and they can suggest that you maybe take your child to see a physician or to see a psychologist or psychiatrist to further evaluate. But your teacher can't make a medical suggestion. They can't diagnose. So if your teacher comes to you, number one, I do want you to take them seriously because they work really hard for our kids, right? So respect their request. Now, you then take that request and take that comment that they give you, assuming they're telling you your child has a bit of attention issues. Take that, go home, and have a family meeting about it. Sit down with your husband or your spouse. Dig into it a little bit further. Talk to your child. Involve your child in the conversation. Hey, teacher is telling us that you're having a really hard time sitting still and you're not listening. And we know that you are able to listen well and to behave. So we want to include you in this conversation because she's concerned about it. And involve that. Have a family conversation. And if you feel like you need to go to a doctor, of course, do. If you feel like you need just validation that everything's okay with your child, do. But remember, you guys, the label of ADHD or the symptoms associated with it is forgetful, has a hard time listening when spoken to, fails to finish homework or other tasks assigned, fidgets, talks excessively, can't sit still. And I can assure you all your children have those issues at different times, right? So I just want to empower you guys as parents to understand that ADHD and ADD is kind of being a kid. That said, like I mentioned before, there is a real issue here with some children. They really can't control themselves. And I'm going to talk to you about some things that you can use to help that, okay? Because a lot of times it comes to diet, like changing some things in their diet to allow them to focus better, using essential oils to allow them to focus better. And I'm going to get there in just a second, but I wanted to take this a bit further. And again, I'm approaching this just sensitively because, as I said, I think that it can be a real thing and there are kids that deal with this, but we also have to recognize that there's money behind this. So I want to share with you something here that I read. And this is just kind of disturbing. But again, as a parent, when we know better, we do better. So the so-called learning disorders have sadly become a way for financially strapped schools to make ends meet. So this is shared by a, let's see, her name is, she's Patty Johnson. She is a Colorado State Board of Education member in the 2nd Congressional District before the U.S. House of Representatives. She presented this. Now, if we understand why would a school be financially motivated to put kids on drugs? Why? So I always want to take the approach that the school is truly doing the best that they know to do. And here's what that approach would look like. The school gets more money when they have higher test scores, okay? So when a school has higher test scores and their kids are doing well, that school is going to get more money, which is great, right? Then they get that money, and what do they do with that money? We're hoping they're pouring it into extracurricular programs. They're pouring it into the music program and art program and sports. Maybe they're raising wages for our teachers. So when a school gets more money, they can do better things. But where that gets really convoluted is when that school is getting more money from pharmaceuticals by encouraging these kids to be taking drugs. And the reason for that is because there are some drugs that are given to kids that suffer from ADD and ADHD that help focus. So when a kid's focusing better, they're going to do better on their tests, right? In fact, if you really look at it, when schools are given financial incentives to improve students' success rates, the bottom line is they're going to be much more willing to recommend these kids get on these drugs. So again, I approach this just coming from a place of really wanting to empower us as parents to do the best we can with our kids. And to not just when somebody tells you to do something, and gosh, I've been a proponent of this forever. Walking through cancer with our son, We were told all the time to do certain things and to put him on certain drugs and to give him certain medications as a precaution. And I never took the doctor's word for it until I researched and I educated myself and looked at all of the other pieces of the picture. What are the side effects of that? Do I want to do this? Is there an alternative, right? And so I was thrown into doing this already. And so that's where my experience comes from, is already knowing the importance of never taking somebody's word. And that means mine. Don't just take my word and do what I say. Empower and educate yourself so that you can make the best decisions for your family. Now, that said, I want to share with you, if your child is dealing with hyperactivity or a really hard time paying attention and focusing, there are some things, natural solutions that you can use to really help. So I'm going to share with you right now. The first thing is diet. You really want to remove food dyes. You want to remove processed sugars. You want to remove high fructose corn syrup is a huge component to a healthy diet, is taking that out. So if you remove, and you just start with the basics, okay? So let's just, rather than talking about a really intense therapeutic diet, let's just start with the basics. You take all food dyes out, you take all high fructose corn syrup out of the diet, and you remove gluten. Those are 3 things that you can start with, and they're pretty basic. So if you take those three things out, you are gonna instantly, and I promise you, you will instantly see some improvement in their behavior. They've done studies showing that red food coloring and food dye actually messes with the synapse in the brain. So there's actually a disruption of communication in the brain when you're eating foods like that. Okay, so right away, that's important. Food dyes, high fructose corn syrup, and gluten. Take those out of the diet. The next thing you can do, and this is so easy, so simple, and it lets your child feel a little bit of power in this situation, is you can begin using essential oils. And here's what's really cool about this. So the very first lecture I ever sat in for learning about essential oils was from a pediatrician. This pediatrician had actually had her son, who at the time was 12, was diagnosed with pretty severe ADD, ADHD. And she's a pediatrician. Now, she refused to put him on the drugs because as a pediatrician, she knew the side effects. She knew what that looked like, and she wasn't willing to do it to her own child. So she was, ironically, invited to a friend's house who was having an essential oil class. And up until this point, she'd been very kind of skeptical of that, right? Who are these moms selling essential oils? And I don't know if I believe in that. Well, she was invited to their house, decided to go, pretty desperate at this time. She's thinking, gosh, if there's anything I can do to help my son, that would be great. So she goes to the house, sits in on the class, ends up buying the essential oils that the person leading the class told her to use for ADD, ADHD. And I'm going to share with you what those are. She started to use those oils. What she would do, she would put it on him before school, and he's 12, right? So she'd use it before school, apply it to the back of his neck, bottoms of feet. She would send the blends with him to school, and he would use them as he felt that he needed help. And that is so powerful. If you let your kid have a little bit of control, if you give them something to let them feel control, that is so tremendously beneficial for their psyche, for their improvement and their growth, but also for you to be able to say, gosh, I have this tool now I can let my child use because it's safe. They can't hurt themselves using it, right? Long story short, he used the essential oils for about, I think it was like 60 to 90 days. She said that one day the teacher pulled her aside after class when she was picking him up. And the teacher said to her, I'm so glad you decided to put him on the medication. He's made a huge improvement. And she looked at the teacher and said, I didn't put him on the medication. I'm using essential oils. And she said the best part of that was she's the practitioner. She's the pediatrician, right? And she's the one saying, nope, I didn't put him on medication. I gave him essential oils. And she said the look on the teacher's face was priceless. But her child never dealt with having been told that he had ADD, ADHD after that. So again, just a simple, easy to use tool for you to really support your health and your child's health. Now here's the blend, here's the magic sauce. So the first one is Intune. You can see this one gets a lot of use. Intune, it's hard to see here, it's a blend that doTERRA already made for focus. It's the focus blend. Works amazing, okay? So this is the first one. Now the next 3 are Serenity Essential Oil, vetiver essential oil. Now the reason this has a funny top is if you know vetiver, it's very, very thick. It's almost syrupy. So to let it drip out of the bottle would take a while. So we use a little dropper to get it out of the bottle. It's just a lot more convenient. And then balance. So here's a really simple way to use these. You're gonna get an empty glass roller bottle, just like the one that Intune is in. Intune already comes in a roller, so that's easy peasy, right? Now you're gonna take this other glass roller bottle and you're gonna do 15 drops of each essential oil. Serenity, vetiver, and balance, okay? 15 drops, Serenity, vetiver, and balance. Put it in a 10 milliliter roller bottle. Top it off with fractionated coconut oil. Now they have 2 roller bottles. They have Intune, and then they have the blend that you just made with those other 3 oils. You're gonna put that on the back of their neck, bottoms of feet, before they go to school. I would suggest also applying it at night before they go to sleep. Now, again, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Some schools are really strict and they won't let you bring essential oils, which makes me absolutely crazy, but that's their policy, so you have to respect that. So I have had some parents get a doctor's note from a practitioner that you work with saying that giving permission for them to have these essential oils either kept in their backpack or kept in the nurse's office. Hopefully they'll let them keep in their backpack so it's quick access. You let them take it to school and they use it as needed, and you're putting power back in your kids' hands. You're helping build their confidence. You're letting them feel like they have a little bit of control over their health. So I hope that was beneficial. And again, I hope that you accept this message with grace. As always, I know there's constantly people out there that get really frustrated when I share my opinion. In fact, I don't know if you've noticed, but I was kicked off of Instagram. I was silenced. So we're working on that now, but I believe we've had a few people look into it and they believe that my account was hacked because of what I share about cancer. So I appreciate any questions, any comments that you guys have. Please feel free to comment below. I'll go back on and answer. And yes, Lynn, I just see your question now. Your son is allergic to coconut. You can totally mix it with a different oil. Jojoba essential oil. You could even use olive oil. You could use grapeseed oil. I would say grapeseed would probably be the easiest and the most comparable to coconut. So grapeseed oil works great to mix your essential oils. Yeah, Kelly, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. So I haven't been able to post on Instagram in, gosh, a little over a month. But I'm praying that I will have my voice back soon and I can continue to share with people on Instagram as well. Yeah, Sherry, you can diffuse as well. It's a really great question. So what I would do is I would take probably 4 drops of each of the oils. You could do Serenity, Balance, and Vetiver. And Intune's a little trickier to add to the diffuser because it's a roller bottle. And so you'd have to pop the top off to dump it in there. But you could even just try with Serenity, Balance, and Vetiver and do 4 drops of each in the diffuser during homework time. Also, wild orange is good to add to the mix when you're for like homework and for studying. It helps with attention and focus as well. Angela, that's a really great question. Yes, DDR prime is so amazing and wonderful for cognitive health. So DDR prime stands for damaged DNA repair. You can take it as a supplement, which I would advise if your child or adult can swallow pills. It's a lot easier to take that way because it's actually a supplement. It's meant to be taken as a supplement. If your child cannot swallow pills, you can buy the essential oil and it's in a 30 milliliter bottle, and then you can apply it to the spine and the bottoms of feet. Let's see, Rosina, where's the best place for kids to apply on themselves at school since the feet and back don't really work? Apply it to the back of the ears and over the heart. That's actually where I typically use my essential oils when I'm trying to support my emotions or focus. So back of ears and over the heart is great because at school you're not going to have them take their socks and shoes off. That'll make them feel kind of silly, right? Jessica, could you mix the Intune with the others? Yeah, you totally could. Just to make it easier. So then what you would do is get one of those droppers that's in Vetiver, just to be able to count properly how much you're putting of the Intune and just do 15 drops of Intune. And then you have all 4 of them in one roller bottle. That's totally possible. You know, Kelly, Copaiba is a brand new essential oil that we have, and I haven't dug into it a whole lot. I know some of the benefits. I haven't dug into it a ton quite yet to know if there's a big impact on just cognitive function. I know that there is amazing for healthy cell. In fact, this roller bottle that I was showing you guys as an example, as soon as we got home from our global conference in September, where we learned, it was incredible. Just a lot of physicians were sharing science behind essential oils. And Copaiba is a brand new essential oil that we have. And when I understood the benefits for healthy cell support and immune system, as soon as I got home, I made a roller of 15 drops frankincense, 15 drops Copaiba, and I am lathering my son up in this because he walked through cancer. So important to be proactive. And also I give it to my daughter. What we do is we roll it down their spine every night and rub it in. So I'm sure that it has some sort of benefit for cognitive function, but I can't answer that quite yet. I want to do a little bit more research first. Make sure I didn't miss any other questions. I saw someone wrote in a little bit earlier. We talked about the coconut oil. Oh, good, Kelly. I just saw your comment. I'm so glad that you're on here. That was a God thing, right? You're supposed to be on here today. So again, I hope this was beneficial, and more than anything, just that you're educated and empowered to just take it a step further and do your own research, because I really don't want you guys just to take my word for it. I don't. That does you no good. But if you're educated and you're empowered and you really feel at peace and confident about moving forward with digging into this, whether it's ADD, ADHD, or maybe your child has something else that they're walking through and you want to look for natural solutions, do that. And if you guys have more questions, I do have a blog post about details of how to use essential oils and how they actually work. And I posted that yesterday. So you can go find that post, or you can go to my website, susanjohnson.com. And in the blog section, there's a blog titled, Do Essential Oils Really Work? I even have a free webinar that you can watch. It's kind of an essential oil 101 class on there. Awesome, Angela, that's so great. I'm sure you enjoyed it. It's pretty incredible. And yeah, I can definitely do that, Kayla. I will, I'm going to be doing this more often, so I'll hop on and do I'm actually going to do a live video this week on this page of the new products that were released. And gosh, some of them, you guys, I'm like literally bathing in. They're amazing. So have a wonderful week. I'll see you in a few days for the weekend, and we'll talk soon. Bye, you guys.